I'm Brady Held, the founder and CEO of Courtroom Animation, a forensic animation and visualization studio based out of Los Angeles, California. Because we work on so many different types of cases and have our hands in so many different areas of the law, people ask me all the time for my opinion as a forensic animator and storyteller, how I feel about and what I would do to present certain cases that are very prominent in the news. Because people request that of me so often, I decided to start this video series called Fireside Forensics, where I'll share my thoughts and ideas about certain cases that are prominent in the news and give my take as a forensic animator about how I would visualize that case, what I would do to present certain data sets to a jury in a way that I think is most effective and would leave the longest lasting impression on a jury. The first case that I'll be talking about in this series is a fire that occurred in a building in the Bronx, in an apartment building, several weeks ago. I believe 17 people have died to this day, and so it's an extremely sad case, very tragic. And before I dive in too deep, I just want to make it clear that I am not a retained expert on this case, and what I'll be talking about today are merely my opinions as someone that has a lot of experience as a forensic animator and a storyteller that presents data to a jury in a way that will make a difference. The way that I understand the key pieces of this case to date is that this building was really in disrepair. It had missing fire alarms, missing carbon monoxide detectors, and I think the crux of the mechanism of injury, and really why there was so much fatal loss in this case, is because there were doors that were supposed to be automatic doors that would close were not closing properly. So when your average person thinks about fire, they think about the origin of the fire, the actual flames, the heat, as the most destructive piece of that element. And in a case involving fire in an apartment building, really it's the smoke and the smoke inhalation that is the most destructive as far as loss of life goes. So the way that I understand this case is that there was a space heater that started a fire. And that fire produced a lot of smoke that spread throughout the building and entered different residences, and that is where the fatalities occurred. So the way that I would want a jury to understand this, and again, most people think of fire, the actual flames and the heat as the most destructive force, is to ensure that they really understand that the spread of the smoke and really mechanisms that should have existed within the building that should have stopped the spread of smoke, having failed, as the real crux and the real destructive part of this case. We worked on another apartment fire in Los Angeles, and we had a lot of success recreating the building, removing the face of the building and showing a 3D interior diagram of that building. We were able to show the origin of the fire, how smoke spread, and how it entered different residences. And that was really the most important part for a jury to understand. So in a case like this, I like to phrase it as a right way versus wrong way case. So if we're talking about a civil plaintiff client that may retain us on a case like this, they would really want to show the right way this building should have been maintained, having working automatic doors and working smoke detectors. So I would first show the wrong way. I would show smoke originating at the origin of the fire, and I would make very clear the path the smoke spread and the apartment residences where individuals lost their lives or were injured. Directly after that, I would show the automatic doors that should have been functioning close and cut off that smoke, a visual representation of how smoke does not enter those residences and those people do not get injured, do not lose their lives. That I feel like would be the most lasting image that a jury could really have in their mind when they go to deliberate. The same type of visual could be shown with smoke alarms. There could be a visual representation of alarms going off when smoke leaves the origin of the fire and then touches those smoke alarms. When the smoke alarms go off, there'll be a visual representation of how people in their residences could have heard that and had time to escape. That is what I call a right way versus wrong way type of recreation. Now, I get retained just as often by plaintiff attorneys as I do by defense attorneys. So thinking about a case like this, again, a very tragic case, thinking about it from a defense perspective can be a little tricky, and I'm not trying to be insensitive when I talk about how I would defend either the owner of the apartment building um, or someone from a criminal perspective that may be liable for the destruction that occurred. But if I was working on the defense side of this case, we would try to get an understanding of, would the smoke have spread regardless of the function of these doors? I think also we would want to show the proper usage of a space heater, and maybe the resident that used that space heater, had they followed the guidelines of the space heater, of the apartment building, that could have really reduced fault when it comes to laying blame for an individual or a party on this case. Additionally, if the automatic doors weren't functioning properly, I would look into the cause of why they weren't functioning properly. Was it the fault of the management company of the building? Were they wedged open by individuals in the building? A lot of times these doors are tied open or wedged open to make access to apartments easier and quicker. So we'd really want to understand that and produce visuals that would show a jury that these doors may have been functioning, but there might have been individuals that were at fault for having these doors not function, and not the property management company's fault for having these doors not function. Now, before I end, I just want to say that this is an incredibly tragic case, very, very sad. 17 people have lost their lives and countless more are injured. And my heart goes out to the community that's been affected, the family members that have lost loved ones, and I wish everyone that's been affected the most peace possible moving forward. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to be doing at least one of these a week. There are so many different types of cases out there with different types of exhibits that could really help leave a jury with the most accurate and memorable information as they go to deliberate and serve our criminal justice system in the most effective way possible.